Kyler Murray, who, was once seen as the best athlete since Bo Jackson being the first overall pick in football, being the ninth overall pick in baseball. I remember the days of what sport Kyler Murray was going to play. And as we sit here in 2026, maybe he should have chose baseball. The Athletics, they're an up-and-coming team. He could have been part of that team with Denzel Clark and all of them. But obviously, he chose football, and for a while, it looked like it was the absolute right move. And honestly, his bank account probably would tell him that it was the right move as well. But as we sit here in March of 2026, he looks like he has played his last snap as an Arizona Cardinal. There was a report this week that said the Cardinals are more than likely going to release him. And now the question becomes, A, what do the Cardinals do at quarterback? And B, what are Kyler's options going forward? What teams would potentially pick him up and give him a chance? Is he still guaranteed to be a starter in the NFL? It seems like I'm dunking on him, but I think that's kind of the precarious situation that we find ourselves in. So, Patrick, I'll start with you. Do you agree with the Cardinals' decision to let Kyler Murray walk and unceremoniously release him?
I mean, I'll be entirely honest. I know they didn't really win games with him, but they looked better with Jacoby Brissett.
Hmm.
That being said, that was Drew Petzing's offense. It's a new offensive unit now. It's the LaFleur offense. But then again, I don't want to assume things, but I don't think Kyler Murray is a LaFleur quarterback at all.
No, I don't think
at
so.
all. I mean, in terms of what LaFleur probably wants to operate, just based off the offensive we've seen him operate before, way more timing based, way more hitting guys in stride, not a lot of backyard ball. Yeah, that's like the opposite of Kyler Murray in every way, shape, and form. You definitely move on. I 100% think that's what they're going to look to do. And I mean, now we know it. The rumors came out. That is what they're going to do. And I think that's the right decision, right? This offense isn't about Kyler Murray. It really isn't. Not in my mind. So, yeah, I think you move on from him and then you try and get Mac Jones or something like that. I think that's the right approach for a team like this.
So, do you think that the Cardinals should go the bridge quarterback route? Do you think they should maybe try and see if they can capture lightning in a bottle with a guy like Malik Willis? 2026, you're Monty Ossenfort right now. What is your plan at quarterback kind of for the immediate future and then also for the long-term health of the Arizona Cardinals? Are you, like I said, are you going with a veteran guy? Are you banking on the 2027 draft? You're trying to get an Arch Manning? What do you think the plan is? Because I don't, they're definitely not getting a quarterback in the draft this year. And if they go the free agency route, it would have to be a bridge guy unless you really think that 2 or 3 game sample size of Malik Willis proves that he's a franchise quarterback. I mean, I think their options right now are pretty limited. I don't see a pathway for them to really get a quarterback until next year, in which case I would tell you that the Cardinals are probably one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. They're probably in pretty good position to take a guy in the 2027 draft. But do you think they should wait that long, or do you think that they should, go out and get a veteran, like you said, like a Mac Jones or something?
I think you need to think a little bit more creatively here. I do. Trade for a guy. 2 specific guys on the market. I mentioned Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is the type of guy that you want, right? Again, in this offense, I think that'll work very well. Another guy that I want to throw out the idea of, and we've heard a little bit less, but I've heard some rumblings about him being available for trade. Tanner McKee. Bring in Tanner McKee from Philly. Why not? I think he would be the type of guy, again, in an Arizona offense under LaFleur, a Shanahanian, Sean McVay type of system. I think it would work pretty well. I do. Now, if they were to go more the veteran route, well, I don't think this would ever happen because of the state of the team right now. But Aaron Rodgers would be a very good scheme fit. They would never be able to get him, though. I think potentially a guy like veteran. Kirk Cousins would fit it well. Just a pocket passer that could go a little bit more in rhythm. I do think they'll go with the younger guy, not a Malik Willis. Not a Malik Willis. If they wanted that style of quarterback, they would have kept Kyler Murray around. I think they're going to go more the Mac Jones type of route. Again, I can really see Mac Jones being a.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It sounds
I
like
think so.
it sounds like the 49ers want at least a second round pick for Mac Jones, and I will absolutely not do that if I'm the Cardinals. From what you said, I loved your symmetry because you talked about the former Stanford Cardinal becoming a Cardinal once again, and you talked about the former State Farm representative playing in State Farm Stadium. We're the best in the game. This is what we do for a living, ladies and gentlemen. But
That
I
was
agree
good.
with you.
That was really good.
Thank you, thank you. I'm here all week actually, behind my computer screen. I agree with you where I don't know that Malik Willis is a scheme fit. Ironically, even though he just played for the other LaFleur in Green Bay, I get what you're saying. If they're going to want a quarterback like that has some movement, that has some athleticism, why cut Kyler Murray? Right. That's kind of the thought process there. I do think they want a more traditional Shanahanian type of quarterback,
Yeah.
in which case,
Like I think Matt LaFleur had to adjust that offense too
oh,
much.
absolutely, absolutely, because
To
that's not
and
that's not
that's just
Jordan Love.
putting like Michael LaFleur isn't gonna take this job to run an altered offense in his
No,
first year. He
no,
wants to run his system.
I
He
agree.
can't do that with Malik Willis. Although again, I love Malik Willis. I think
Yeah.
he's going to be awesome.
Oh,
But
interesting. Okay.
yeah,
I
no,
I'm
I'm really big on Malik
I
Willis.
would define myself as lukewarm on Malik
Mhm,
Willis. I will give you my opinion on whether I think he's successful or not when I see where he signs. I don't think
mhm.
he's a
I
guy
think
that
that's
is
fair. I think that's very
successful.
fair.
But I would say I'm lukewarm. Going back to Kyler the player for a second, I do think that for a guy who came into the league who was so dependent on his athleticism, specifically his quickness. This is a guy who he could make you miss in a phone booth back when he was in his prime. And we've seen over the years those knee injuries have, I think, really zapped him a lot of his athleticism. This is not a passer who's ever been really a pinpoint accurate guy. He has a good arm. He actually has a pretty strong arm. People don't give him enough credit for that. But he's not a pinpoint accurate guy. I don't know that he's a guy that you want strictly playing in rhythm. That's to me the comparison for him right now for me. And this is going to shock some people when I say this, but you got to hear me out here. It's kind of like Russell Wilson, where early in his career, Russell
Yeah.
Wilson was a guy who wasn't playing in structure, wasn't running a traditional 3-step let it go, 5-step let it go, three and a hitch let it go offense. But man, was he running around? He was corking deep balls. He was making guys miss. He made Chandler Jones look like a toddler on that one run against the Patriots, if you guys remember. And Russell Wilson was actually able to sustain that style of play much longer than most quarterbacks are. But we saw it in Denver where when he had to play in structure, when he had to try to use his athleticism, he just was not the same guy. And he quickly the downfall of Russell Wilson was about as rapid as we've seen from a superstar Hall of Fame quarterback, because yes, he is a Hall of Famer. We'll have that debate another day. From a guy who was again top 3, top 4 at his position for multiple
It
years to
it
being
directly
unplayable.
correlated with the coordinators.
Exactly.
I'm
And
sorry to cut
so
off, but that's what it was about.
you
And for Kyler
exactly.
Murray, we saw a different quarterback
Yep.
with Kingsbury.
Yep. You see again a lack of the zapped athleticism along with a change of coordinators. I don't know that Kyler Murray is going to be even a shade of the guy that he was in 2021 and 2022 and all of that. I will say, however, to play devil's advocate against myself, if a guy like Justin Fields can get guaranteed starter opportunities in the big year of 2026, Kyler Murray certainly can as well. He, at his best, was a much, much, much better player than Justin Fields ever was.
Mhm.
And teams will certainly take a chance on getting getting the Kyler of old to come back and be a version of what he was. So I do think that he is going to be a starter in 2026. And I think we could maybe start to get into what teams make the most sense for that.
Well,
Do you have a
yes.
specific team in mind that you think is a circle this team as a Kyler Murray destination?
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing before I get into that is kind of going back to the expectations with the Kyler Murray. It's I mean, you mentioned who he was in 2021. You say like teams are thinking that he had it back, and I wouldn't be shocked by it. I really wouldn't. I think that I don't want to sound like I'm necessarily a Kyler Murray believer, but I do think if you put Kyler Murray, so yeah, I'm pretty much just gonna say I'm a Kyler Murray believer in different words. But if you put Kyler Murray in the right spot where the system works in that way, and it's kind of a flawed offense, because that's what it has to be, a flawed offensive system, but he has the talent around him and he has a DeAndre Hopkins type of guy, and you let him scramble around and make plays single handedly, things can work out and things can work out well. The team I want to float by you, right? Where he could get a starting job, because you have to keep in mind a team is going to look for his deal is going to be cheap. his deal should be pretty cheap because he's already on a different contract. He's already getting paid all this money. If he gets released, he's going to get paid a lot of money from the deal he's currently on. So he could get signed to a smaller deal. And I'm trying to think what offense could rely on a Kyler Murray type of performer and play more off script and embrace that. Cleveland with Todd Monken, right? If they want to move on from Shedeur, which I wouldn't blame them if they do because he wasn't good last year. I know he made the Pro Bowl, the prestigious
Dude,
Pro Bowl, but
he had like 7 touchdowns last year and made the Pro Bowl. What are you talking about?
that tells you just how good he is off aura.
This guy doesn't know ball. This guy doesn't know ball. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, right? Todd Monken, with that offense with the Ravens was very dependent on Lamar being Lamar. And not just the legs, but creating pass plays, allowing long developing route concepts to develop by stalling in the pocket. Kyler Murray could do exactly that. Now, can he do it to Lamar Jackson level? No. But, again, I think he'll be relatively cheap because he's getting paid so much with the Cardinals. And I think not many teams will look at Kyler Murray and say they want to bring him in and pay him a lot of money. I think Cleveland would be willing to pay him and make him a starter instantly. They won't be able to really pay him, but because he'll instantly be a starter on a team with a good defense, I think this might be the best chance for Kyler Murray to be a winner this year.
Yeah,
I do think that.
In terms of scheme fit and in terms of desperation, I do think that Cleveland makes a lot of sense, and they're probably more likely than the team I'm about to mention. But what about the Pittsburgh Steelers, man? What are you going to do? Run it back with Aaron Rodgers? And to be clear, I don't think that the scheme fit with Mike McCarthy is all there. But when you're looking at the Steelers and their options at quarterback, they got Will Howard on the roster. Okay, you probably don't feel good. He hasn't started a game. You're going to bring back Aaron Rodgers. Are you going to, I think bang for their buck. F it. Why not try this? Go get Kyler Murray. What's the worst? What's the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen? You suck? Great. You go draft a quarterback next year. If Kyler's recapture that magic, well, maybe you actually, are able to make some noise this year. So I don't think that the Steelers, like you said, are you went more of like the scheme with Todd Monken and his prior experience with Lamar, and I totally agree with that. I'm coming more from a F it, let's try something new. And that's desperately what
that's
the Steelers
not what the Steelers do.
Yeah, but that's what they need. That's desperately what they need.
It's what they need, but there's no way they do it because it's them.
Yeah, like this
I hope you're right. And from a logistics standpoint, it's definitely the best move they should make. Right? The best move they could make is exactly what you're saying. But them being the Steelers, and we know what's going to happen. Aaron Rodgers is going to drag it out, and then he's going to sign again with Pittsburgh.
He's going to come out of his ayahuasca cave and then be like, I've been enlightened and I want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler again.
And if he doesn's sign there, it's probably going to be like Kirk Cousins.
No, Big Ben's coming out of retirement.
Kyler Murray, there's a slight risk of exactly what you said, them being a bad team.
I don't know why they're so afraid to suck.
Because then they can't be mediocre.
Hang the banner. Teams. We haven't had a losing season since 2006. Hang the banner in Acrisure Stadium. Like, who cares? Who cares?
But they want to be able to have 100 straight years of being mediocre.
Jeez,
the biggest honor in the sport.
Jeez,
when you have 6 Lombardis, this is what you're able to do.
Jeez. Yeah, you have all 6 Lombardis you have 4 of them from the 1970s before there was color in TV, and the other 2 are before 4K existed. Like I don't know. I'm not interested in being mediocre every year in my career, but I'm glad I'm not a Steelers fan. My team won the Super Bowl. So I think another interesting thing that we need to talk about is, do we think that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be in position, A, to take a prime quarterback in the 2027 class, if we're assuming that they're just going to be god-awful this year? And B, I mean, I think that there's a legitimate possibility that with the unstable ownership that they have with Michael Bidwell, who was once again graded as one of the worst owners in the NFL, is there almost a sense of, hey, we need to figure this out right now, this minute? Because I don't know if Michael Bidwell is the type of owner to say, hey, You got a year, no pressure. Like we could be bad this year. Like take your time. We're gonna build this thing up the right way. And we're not just gonna throw a band-aid on it. I'm almost worried that there's gonna be some tampering from the ownership side to say we need to sell tickets. We need to be competent. We need to compete with the Rams and the Seahawks right now, this instant. Let's go get a guy. Let's go trade for a Mac Jones, which I think would be an awful move. Full stop. I think trading for Mac Jones would be an awful move for the for the
Really?
for the
Well, let me
for,
tell you, it's
for the
better than
future
what
of
they're
the
looking
franchise.
at. Do you know what they're looking at right now? Have you heard the rumors today?
They're looking at being awful in 2026 and drafting a guy in 2027. That's what they're looking at.
Well, yeah,
That's what they
that's
should
what the
do.
rumor makes
That's
it
what they should
sound
do.
like. Well, the rumor today about them legitimately having interest in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, dear Lord, have mercy.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad you asked me what they should do earlier
The
and not
big
what
the
I
big
think
Jimmy
they
G in
will.
the year of our Lord 2026. That's unbelievable.
No, yeah.
You should only be picking
Suddenly,
Jimmy
Mac
G.
Jones doesn't seem that bad.
You should only be picking Jimmy G for if you're doing a GQ men's model shoot. That's the only reason Garoppolo should be selected for anything in the year of our Lord 2026.
You know who's
Absolutely.
another quarterback I feel like hasn't been mentioned enough? Davis Mills. No, I'm being
Another
genuine.
former Cardinal. I see what you're doing there. Patrick.
Well,
Another
I'm
former
saying
Cardinal.
more about he was really good this year with Houston when he
Yeah.
came in. Like
Yeah,
they
he
won
was.
multiple games straight. I know that defense is great, but he led a crazy comeback against a good Jacksonville.
Dude, the
defense.
Jacksonville
Like,
game was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was awesome. Yeah.
that's why. So why have we not heard anything about him, but we're hearing about Jimmy Garoppolo?
I think of the options you've mentioned, Tanner McKee is the most intriguing because there's almost that level of we don't quite know what Tanner McKee is. I think we know because we've seen a season of Davis Mills and he's been a spot starter. He's coming out of the bullpen every so often. We kind of know what Davis Mills in. We don't really know what Tanner McKee is. He started one game in relief of Jalen Hurts. So Tanner McKee might be their most interesting option. If you ask some Eagles fans, they'll tell you they want Tanner McKee over Jalen Hurts. I mean, like God forbid they just won the Super Bowl like 740 days ago and they're
Philly when anything happens.
Yeah, it's that scene from the Clone Wars, like the Siege of Mandalore, where like the whole sky's exploding, and it's like Philly when they win a game by only a field goal. But that's just the truth. That's the God honest truth.
Oh, it's real.
Yeah, I don't know how if you've stepped into Philly, but you look like you don't have any nicks or bruises on you, so I'm gonna assume you haven't been to Philly anytime soon.
So real story. I'm gonna before we wrap this up. I'm gonna tell a real story. When I must have been like 7 years old. It was a Steelers Eagles game, and I used to love the Killer Bees. So I think it was a Le'Veon Bell jersey as a 7-year-old to a Philadelphia Eagles game in Philly. I was getting like chirped at by like 50-year-old men as a 7-year-old. And like whenever they scored, it was a blowout too. It was like Eagles destroyed Pittsburgh. And I started crying in the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and cried because after every touchdown, they do the fly Eagles fly, which is fine. Like that's normal fan behavior. What wasn't normal was a 40-year-old man walking up to me and being like, "You suck. Like I'm the one." And it got to the point my father had to tell me, "Yo, he's a kid."
It don't matter. It don't matter. That's why you have that Giants flag in the background, is you harbored this hate for the Eagles.
Yeah. I'm not a Giants fan for the video watchers.
Yeah, I know.
Right, I'm not a Giants fan. I have a Giants roommate. That's what this is. But maybe I should be a Giants fan because I'm not gonna lie, that moment made me not really like Eagles fans.
Dude,
Although now I'm an Eagles writer.
they don't get a bad rap. I'll make this super quick. I went to a Seahawks Bengals game with my mom, who is not a Seahawks fan. She was wearing my Seahawks jersey. She was wearing my DK Metcalf jersey. And DK, like he tends to do, punches a guy during the game. And every Bengals fan in our section just starts like harassing my mom. I felt so horrible. At least she wasn't 7 years old. That sounds like it would be a traumatizing experience.
I got
kind
a
of
nice
like
cheesesteak after though.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Philly's good for some. But probably not as traumatizing as being a Jets or a Cardinals fan. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Ahead of the Chains. We went through a lot. We went through the Combine, the Jets, what they do, and what the Cardinals do with Kyler Murray. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode, which will be releasing on Friday.